Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. Today, you have the privilege, and I really mean that, like you have the privilege to listen in to a conversation with one of my clients, Laurie Wright, not your average grandma. And I always love that title when she uses it. And she is one of my newly minted Master Neurocoach Certified coaches. And I wanted to bring her on today because she's been working through, as an entrepreneur, what a lot of you have been. She's had too many ideas at one time. She's had not sure which way to go conversations. And I'll let her share her story. But she really finally, about a year ago, just really took the keys to her future in her hand and started to work from the inside out. And as she's done that, things have really opened up for her in ways that I don't think she could even have predicted. And so, Laurie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Shannon. And I am so grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in. Like, do you remember when, right before you got into working with us and the Epic Success Program and neurocoaching, what was maybe getting in the way of you seeing the success that you wanted? What were some of the conversations you were having with yourself about what was getting in the way?
Yes. Okay. So I kind of went backwards into the Epic Success Academy because I signed up for the neurocoaching program. Mm-hmm. And so I got the ESA as a part of that. Yeah. And so what the neurocoaching program gave me is a belief that my value is greater than I thought it was. And so it was just this growing of a deeper conviction in my abilities and the gift of, and there was stuff in the ESA, that came with it that were like, oh, this is great. And kind of validated a lot of stuff for me because I was kind of operating using a lot of the things that were in ESA that you teach. Mm-hmm. But the neurocoaching piece was just this validation. Yeah. And it taught me a lot about, because I had been a coach for a long time. Right. I was a Beachbody coach, my story, but for your listeners,
they don't. Yeah. Tell them your story. Like, how did you get started? And just tell them a little bit about how this journey's gone.
Right. So I should probably say my age. I'm 61 and I'm just getting started.
40.
So, yeah. So I started very late in life on this entrepreneurial journey. I never really thought of myself. I thought I had this belief mindset that I wasn't capable. So there's a lot of reasons we can go into that, but I've now know. But what happened was when I got to be about 54, I was dealing with menopause and all the things that go with menopause. And I was like, and my daughter became a Beachbody coach and she said, Mom, you should join and you should, all that. And so, I was never like wanting to be involved in a network marketing company, but I really liked the results I got. I got in the best shape of my life at age 55. There was, I was turning 55 right after I signed up for her online challenge group. And it was a joke. My Not Your Average Grandma, that was like a joke. I did a hashtag on social media and I didn't even know what hashtags were. So this just shows you like you can start like not even knowing like what a Facebook group is or anything like that. And so I joined up and I say it's kind of like I don't know that I ever would have had the kahunas to like even try to have my own business. Right. But network marketing gave me like this little taste of what it could be. And then a lot of great knowledge on how to use different tools and software. And so, but it's funny because when I came in, so fast forward, I did that for 4.5 years. And I was always like one of the top people on the team that we had. And I was always getting the prizes and the awards, but I wasn't. And I also felt this limit where, I could do more. Like I could help people in a different way. Right. And I started to want to help people more than just health and fitness. I wanted to help them. I've always been really fascinated in people and like wanting to hear their stories and what made them tick and what was your childhood like? I always had this interest. And so I just decided one day, I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to just go somewhere else and look for help and figure it out. And so that's when I started searching for online programs that could help me. And so I created a course and a program that I was really passionate about. I started to really dig into. And another thing about my mindset is I never thought I was creative. I
Isn't
always
that
thought I can
interesting?
copy something, but I can't create my own thing.
Interesting.
And so I realized that once I started to do a lot of the work of, mindset work stuff, that these ideas started like flowing to me. And then, like you said, I had too many ideas.
Yes.
So it's been a real journey of that, starting and being curious and walking into my power more and more with every step I took, not being afraid, yet, kind of being afraid, but yet, I think the larger goal of, I always knew who I wanted to help. And we did an exercise that brought me to tears. And I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Why don't you talk about that a little
Yeah, it was the why, kind of the peeling the onion of the why is really what I don't know if you called it that, but and at first it's very surface, right? Your first response. And that really helped me because before I started working with you, I did have this fear that I didn't know enough, even though I'd been doing my own online business or doing a online business for now 6 years. And a year and a half ago, I was like, I'm going to do my own thing, but I still had this fear of, I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I need to learn more. And so I knew who I wanted to help, but I was just too scared to go all in because I still need to get more knowledge. So I kind of tried to plug in a little of the health and fitness, and it just wasn't, and honestly wasn't really aligned with what I wanted to do anymore. So I pivoted a little bit with a different thing. But then we peeled that onion that day, and I got about 4 or 5 layers down, and it was like, it choked me up, and I put it on my phone and I was like, oh my gosh. And that kind of really, just realizing that kind of set me on a whole new path.
So where did you, when we did this power of why exercise where we go times 7. So when we got in deep, where did you get to kind of reveal what that uncovered for you?
Yeah. So it's funny because it kind of goes back to one of the first ideas I had when I started to create my online program. But it was, I don't want anybody to be laying on their deathbed and say that I didn't go for it all, that I didn't go for the passion that I don't have in my life. I don't want anybody to go to their grave having a regret for not having tried to find what they're here to do. Because I almost did. And I lived a long time operating under my logical brain, doing what I remember back when I was 18 and I was having to pick a college, major. And I remember I said to my mom, I said, I want to be a social worker. I had a calling. I felt like that's what I wanted to do, which is helping a real deep helping people.
Advising.
And my mom and my dad were teachers, and they had gotten both their masters and had, like, my mom was a counselor and my dad was a principal. But she told me, she said, you'll never make money doing that. And so the story, right? So the story, my belief that I carried around was, you have to make money. You have to always, and I ended up leaving college. That was a whole nother story. And mostly because I didn't really like what I was doing. I thought, okay, I'll be an English teacher, just like my mom.
Right.
And my heart wasn't in it, So, and then I had a breakup with a boyfriend. And so I was like, I'm going to take a semester off. And then I never went back because I didn't really have any focus. So I ended up getting married to a police officer and becoming a waitress. And which, long story, I ended up taking some of my writing ability, because I was a good writer, and I became a receptionist, worked my way up ladder, and I ultimately became a vice president at AOL. It was America Online when I started, but yeah, I went from tech writer to vice president.
That's awesome.
Yet I carried around this, you got to make money, and I never got a college degree. So I kind of felt like an imposter too, because even though I had, done amazing things and been rewarded for my accomplishments, this little voice in my head was always, well, you don't have a college degree. They're from Harvard Business School. They're from Stanford. They're from this and you went to a little pokey college and you didn't finish,
Yeah.
So all, so I just did what I needed to do. And I loved being a mom. It was like, I thought it was my purpose, even though I had a full-time job, but they were my world, my two girls. And then one day they left, and it was like, I was so unhappy and unfulfilled and, passionless. I was living a passionless existence. And my ex-husband now and I, we realized it, we would be better apart than together. And that was hard. So there was a lot of transition in a true commitment. When I was nearing 48, and I was going through all this transition where my kids were leaving college, which meant they were on their own. They were like completely moving out. I was very lucky that they very early on were financially independent, but they were moving on, and it was me. My ex-husband at the time wasn't even living. We weren't even living in the same house, and I didn't like my job. And it was just like kind of the, everything hitting me at once, realizing I cannot live the rest of my life like this.
Yeah.
Something has to change. Yeah. And so I completely changed my life. I left my marriage and ultimately left the city I lived in. And so it was just kind of that first big change. And then this kind of online business thing falling in my lap. It was almost like an accident, but yet the universe knew I was ready. And so, that's kind of how I ended up late in life, I say. And so I'm very passionate about helping people find their passion, or, getting people to realize that you don't settle for average, go after something so much bigger and better.
Right. Yeah. That the second half can be even better than the first half. And I love that you describe these mental processes that you went through and all of what we coin limiting beliefs, but just that you didn't even realize we're there, but we're just on autopilot. And as you dove into the neurocoaching, I know being part of that certification, you started peeling back those layers, recognizing them, realizing them, and then honestly neutralizing them, and in the process of erasing them. And in that process, I watched you start to believe what was possible more and more and more and more. And really, finally, now you're actually out there launching this program that you just only dreamt about in terms of helping people not experience what you went through. How is that going? How is launching going? How is putting something that's your baby? And although our business shouldn't be our baby, but when you create something, you really want to see it get out there and help people. How is that now that you've actually are launching and you're actually an online business owner and you're starting to see some traction? Just talk about how that feels to have that belief start to get hardwired.
Yeah. So I launched about 4 times last year, but since I started the neurocoaching, I've completely rebranded it and changed it and put more and better stuff in it. And I'm serving people that I want to help create. So right now, before I was helping people really build a passion plan, which has evolved to taking that passion plan and creating a business around it so that you can do the work that you're meant to do for the rest of your life. And so I am just getting ready to launch that revamped, revised. Yeah. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have a workshop called, 5 secret steps to finding passion, purpose, and profit after the empty nest. And,
So good.
I've been working on that video script that's, I'm going to have a welcome video and then a challenge and then a final, next step script. And just putting that together has been so easy. I mean, it's been like the words coming out and the flow. And I'm so excited about teaching that.
Yeah.
And I also have started working with one-on-one clients, which I
That's awesome.
hadn't done before.
Yeah.
And that's been really rewarding because and one of my favorite clients is somebody who is I know from outside the online world, and she
Yeah.
wants to take her offline business online, and she's really had some remarkable kind of breakthroughs, and we've just like halfway through, we've had 3 calls of
Wow.
her but yeah, and so that's been really rewarding. And it's so funny because you ask just from like September, October. And I remember posting in our group on Facebook about like, oh, this is what I'm, so much fear around my value.
Yeah.
And then it evolved to, oh my gosh, that's a steal there. And it's like 5 times as much as what, I thought I was worth in the beginning. So that's been really crazy. And
that is great. That
Yeah.
is great that you're like in the process of that onion being peeled back, you actually see your true value and you see the value you have to offer to the world so that they can get transformations. I'm curious, what's possible for you now that you've launched your coaching program, you're actually doing live coaching, and you're launching this new program coming up. What's now in your mind, what becomes possible for you now?
Yeah. Well, I like to use the story of Grandma Moses, because Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was 76. So a lot of people don't know that, but she had arthritis. So she kind of started painting because she wanted something to do. And she lived for 25 years. And we all know that name. She spent 25 years doing work she loved that made a huge impact. I love her paintings.
Yeah.
And I'm 61 and I'm thinking I got 15 years before I even get to where Grandma Moses was.
Right.
And how much can I do in 15 years? I was afraid to do a 10-year plan when I started this because I thought, 10 years, I'm so far. And I'll be, but I have a 5-year because I know so much can happen in 5 years. I don't even think I'm capable of making all the things that can happen in 10 years.
Yeah.
But, I want to speak on stage. I want to write a book. And it's all possible for me, because it's there. It's in my imprint. And one of the things that is sad that I'm really passionate about is people having dreams. I never dreamt. I never dreamt. Other than going to sleep at night, and then what the heck was that? But I never took time to think about what I wanted for my future. I was just like, money, okay, then BMW. It wasn't anything that was what we do in the work that I've done with you.
Yeah.
And it was just plodding through life. Plodding through life and letting life happen to me. And so I say I was living life on purpose, but not of purpose. Of purpose. And, largely, I just felt I was gifted with these 2 beautiful souls to raise them.
Sure.
And I say in a workshop, I said this that really kind of hit people is, it was like I was on a 20 to 25 year vacation of myself. It's like, it's all about you until, when you're 18, 19, 20.
Right.
And I had kids young, so I hadn't really even established myself as an adult,
Right.
and then pregnant at 22, have a kid at 23, another kid at 25. I didn't know who the heck I was or have a clue about what I wanted. And so I always say, and that's why I'm so passionate about, your second half is your best half, because when I hit 50, it's been amazing. It's been, the 50s was my best decade, and the 60s is well on its way to, topping that as well.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say to the person that was like you and was like me at one point, right? Who maybe is an entrepreneur or wants to be an entrepreneur. They are looking at all the solutions outside of themselves to create their success, right? They're chasing this shiny object. They're going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, hoping that's going to finally be the key to success. And it's all like outside stuff, not anything inside, right? What would you say to that person in terms of the value and the importance of learning how your mind works so that you can actually use it, create it, train it, just put in there exactly what you want so you can create what you want in the world? What value would you give that versus chasing the strategies and trying to just find the next latest and greatest funnel?
Yeah. I mean, we know it's, 95% of the game. I think the mental game is it's so, once you realize, one of the big things for me was judgment, which I remember you said early on, you were like, if you don't think you need to do this, then you're probably one of the people who needs it the most. And I was like, because at first I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm good. I'm positive.
Yeah.
I'm very positive, and, I am happy, and so I started listening to my thoughts. I started paying attention to my thoughts. And a lot of my thoughts that were coming up were, I hear somebody on the radio and I'm like, I don't think I could do that. She's really good at that, or I would be, wow, he's not very good. I think I could do that better. So there was always this leveling of, am I better or worse? Am I better or worse?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's just all these things that it's like unlocking this, magic that is inside of you. It's all inside of you. And that's the other thing is, what you've taught me is that as a coach, how to get people to, how they find it, how you guide them to find it. So it's all inside of you. So and what I would say is it is all in the mind to unlock and unleash you and the power that you have. But I think you need help for that. I didn't have a coach. I never invested in a coach.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll figure it out. Let me search the internet.
I'll just work harder. Work harder. Right.
Yeah. Or I'll Google it, which takes 12 months later. And you're like, damn.
Yeah, I know. And it's so funny because in so many areas, like great football players have coaches, great basketball players have great coaches. Even if you're a great entrepreneur, you look for a business coach. But the operating system that operates it all, we say, I'll figure it out. I'll just work harder. I'll try to outperform it. But you can't outperform the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind runs 80 to 90% of your daily actions and decisions. And so I've had the privilege of watching you go in, clarify that vision, get really crystal clear, build that success pathway in your brain, go in and neutralize and erase these stories that weren't serving you, that you didn't choose, and it weren't your fault. You didn't actually put them there. They were, childhood type things, and truly start to automate in your brain the success pathway that you wanted. And now we're just starting to see that kind of unfold for you, and you stepping into that big, big vision and big calling. So yeah, what would be the last word you would leave to the person who is like, you know what? I do want to think like a successful person. I want to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur so I can become one so much quicker, right? We always joke around like the fastest way to get to a 5-figure business is to think like a 6-figure business owner. And the fastest way to become a 6-figure business owner is to think like a 7, right? So what would you say to that person that is just thinking like, yeah, maybe this is the secret?
Yeah. Well, it's so much more than just thinking about your future and your business. It's
Mm.
all of your thoughts.
Yeah.
You become aware. It changes your life with other people. It changes you just become, this judgmental person here now is like, they, you know, I want to know, like, this person, what hurt them, what made them like this, I look at things with a different lens,
Yeah.
or I understand that I have a lens, and
Yeah.
and it helps my interpersonal relationships everywhere,
Yeah.
not just with clients. And so it's so much more than just me being a better entrepreneur, or
Right.
me being a better, course creator. It's me being better, so the world is better.
Yeah.
We can all, if we just understand, and now in this time that we're living with the racial tension, it's
Yeah.
like, it's been such a gift. And I, having had a police officer as a husband, it was like, oh my gosh. So I've got a lens that's different, and it's
Mm.
like so understanding, and I've been reading and listening and paying attention. And if I didn't have the mindset and the awareness and the knowledge and the teachings from what you've given me, I this this would be I would be contributing differently in the world today,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
You'd have
So,
a different impact. All
mhm.
right. So I've got to ask you, because the reality is, you got everybody listening that is probably been in your shoes or in your shoes right now and is encouraged and inspired to start going for it. What's the dream? Like, what's the monetary goal that you're going for right now? What is that big goal, so that we can cheer you on as you go to conquer those heights?
Yeah, so seven-figure business, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah. So, and I just know it's achievable. I think the biggest thing for me, and it was in my vision, is that I want to be able to give my team raises, you know?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
donate more. I mean, I have a child through Village Impact, or not Village Impact, through your mission,
Through Mosaic Vision. Yeah.
Mosaic Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sponsor one of the orphans. So, and I also give to St. Jude, which is big in my heart. But, I want to, be more of, I never did that before,
Yeah. Yeah. So have
before
that
I
global
became,
impact.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah, so and you're never too old. In fact, you get so motivated, you don't
yeah.
need any tricks of motivation.
No.
I feel like 20 years younger from
Oh,
once
wow.
I've started. Yeah. So,
Wow, that's awesome. Where can my listeners go check out everything that you're up to and follow your journey to seven figures?
yes. So I am not your average grandma everywhere. So Instagram, Facebook, my website's notyouraveragegrandma.com. I'm working on a quiz, getting a quiz, midlife reality check quiz. So I'm excited about that.
Oh,
So that'll be
okay.
on my website hopefully soon. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. We'll post all those links to Laurie in our show notes. Laurie, thank you for coming on the podcast and just sharing your journey, transforming your life from the inside out and stepping into the business that you knew you were called to. So thank you for being on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. I always like time with Shannon. Dr. Shannon's like,
Oh, that's
yeah.
what we have for you this week. Thank you for coming and being a loyal listener to the Epic Success Podcast. Laurie and I would love to know what your big takeaway was from today's interview. Tell us what it is that you are going to you're inspired by, or you're going to take as an action point, and tag both of us in social media at Dr. Shannon Irvine and at Not Your